The boy had never seen a man look so broken. The morning sun spilled through the pine trees, casting long shadows across the dirt clearing, and there, chained brutally to the trunk of a tree, was a heavily built biker with a leather vest that read Hell's Angels across the back. His face was bruised, his arms scraped, and his breath shallow. But what froze the little boy in his tracks wasn't the danger, it was the desperation in the man's eyes. At just 7 years old, barefoot and covered in dust, the boy felt something he couldn't describe, fear, yes, but something deeper too. A pull. A calling. As if he'd stumbled into a moment that was far bigger than him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected heroes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps us keep telling powerful stories like this one. The boy, whose name was Oliver, had been walking alone along the lakeside trail, trying to escape the shouting from home again, when he heard faint metal clinks. At first, he thought it was an animal. But as he came closer, those sounds grew into labored breathing and the rattling of heavy chains. Oliver stopped just a few feet away, staring at the biker with wide hazel eyes. The man didn't yell at him or look angry. In fact, he looked surprised, like he hadn't expected anyone to find him out here. The boy's first instinct was to run, but something made his feet stay planted. Maybe it was how the man's head slumped tiredly against the bark, or the way his voice cracked when he softly whispered for help. Oliver didn't understand why a grown man, especially a man like this, would be left out here. But he felt in his small bones that something was wrong. The biker looked strong, powerful, intimidating even, with tattoos marking his arms and a motorcycle parked a few yards away, gleaming in the sun. Yet the man before him was weak, vulnerable, almost fading. Oliver moved closer, his heart pounding. He tugged on the rusted chains, trying to help, but they were wrapped tight, dug deep, and impossibly heavy. His tiny fingers slipped each time. The biker, exhausted, told Oliver to leave if someone dangerous was nearby. Oliver shook his head, dirt smudged across his cheeks, determined in a way only children can be. He didn't know this man, didn't know his story, didn't know why an outlaw biker was chained to a tree, but he knew he couldn't walk away from someone who needed him. His father was gone, his mother too overwhelmed to notice him slipping in and out, and in that empty world the boy lived in, helping someone, anyone, felt like the right thing to do. So Oliver ran. He sprinted through the woods, sticks scratching his legs, twigs snapping under his feet. He searched the nearby abandoned cabins for something, anything. It took nearly 10 minutes before he found an old rusted toolbox half buried beneath fallen leaves. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were pliers, a wrench, and a small metal cutter that barely worked. But to Oliver, it was everything. He ran back breathlessly, kneeling beside the man who watched him with disbelief. Oliver's hands shook as he tried to position the cutter on one of the chain links, and each attempt failed, the tool slipping or squeaking uselessly. Tears of frustration filled his eyes, but the biker, despite his pain, murmured encouragement. Oliver wiped his face with the back of his hand and tried again. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. Sweat dripped down his face. His arms ached. Dirt streaked his chest and shoulders. He looked exhausted, far too small for such a heavy task, but he refused to give up. And then, finally, with one desperate squeeze, the cutter snapped through a link. The chain fell slack around the man's waist. The biker inhaled sharply, relief flooding his face. Oliver kept working, pulling, breaking, loosening every chain he could. Some links wouldn't budge, so the man shifted, using what strength he had left to help. They worked together, the tiny boy and the battered biker, until at last the chain slid down the tree and landed on the ground with a thud. The man collapsed forward, catching himself on trembling arms. Oliver scrambled to help him stand, supporting a man nearly 10 times his size with all the strength his tiny frame could offer. Together, they walked toward the motorcycle. The biker saw Oliver's shaking hands, his scraped knees, the smudges of oil, dirt, and sweat all over him. No one had ever helped him like this, not his brothers in the club, not even the people he'd once tried to protect. A child had. Hours later, the sound of motorcycle engines roared through the forest. One rumbling group, then another, until nearly 2,000 bikers flooded into the clearing. Word had spread fast. A Hell's Angel had been ambushed and left to die, and his club had come searching. But what they found wasn't a battle scene. Instead, they saw their hardened comrade leaning on his bike, bruised but alive, because a little boy had stayed with him, fought for him, refused to leave him. The riders were stunned. Some removed their helmets. Others exchanged glances of disbelief. Many knelt to the boy's level, thanking him. Oliver didn't know who they were, or why they were so moved, but he felt something warm bloom inside his chest. For once, he wasn't invisible. For once, someone saw him. The biker he'd saved asked the club to make sure this boy never felt alone again. In the days that followed, Oliver found himself surrounded by people who checked on him, brought him food, fixed things around his home, and gave him the sense of family he had always longed for. And the man he saved visited him every week, reminding him that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes, they don't even know they're heroes until the moment arrives. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional true-life stories to the world. Before we end, please comment below. Kindness lives in all of us.